Imagine meeting someone who enters your life like a cosmic explosion, magnetic, intense, undeniable. You feel seen, understood, as if the universe conspired to bring your souls together. And yet it doesn't last. It fractures. It leaves you aching, wondering, why would the universe send me someone so powerful only to take them away? Today, we explore that haunting question through Jungian psychology and ancient wisdom. You'll discover this truth. The relationships you're not meant to keep might be the ones your soul most desperately needs. This isn't just another love story. It's the story of your shadow, your growth, and the invisible forces that shape who you attract and why. Think of someone you loved deeply but lost. What if you didn't meet them by accident? What if their role wasn't to stay, but to awaken? Carl Jung taught that everyone we meet is a mirror, not just of who we are, but of what we've hidden from ourselves. He called this the shadow, the unconscious parts of us we've denied, buried, or never seen. These intense, often short-lived connections are shadow activators. They stir desire, fear, hope, insecurity. They expose wounds you thought were healed, or ones you never knew existed. You feel alive and destabilized. You might ask, why would the universe send me pain disguised as love? But what if it's not pain, it's revelation? When someone awakens your shadow, you're not just falling for them. You're falling into yourself. And those people? They're not meant to be your forever. They're meant to be your mirror. This is projection, unconsciously placing your unlived potential, fears or longings onto another. You don't just see them, you see yourself, reflected in the glow of your unmet needs. Ever been drawn to someone emotionally unavailable? Or someone who stirred something both thrilling and terrifying? That's not just chemistry, it's transformation. As Jungian analyst James Hollis said, the purpose of relationships is not happiness, it is transformation. So the universe isn't cruel for sending someone you can't keep. It's intentional. They crack you open, not to break you, but to reveal you. That devastation when it ends, that's not the end. It's the beginning of returning to yourself. Let's be honest, there are parts of you you'd never face, unless someone brought them to light. Sometimes you need the friction, the heartbreak, the longing. These are emotional chisels, carving your character, sculpting your soul. Such people force you to ask questions you've avoided for years. Why do I give my power away? Why do I crave validation from those who withhold it? Why do I feel unworthy when someone leaves? Sit with those questions, not in blame, but in curiosity, and you begin to reclaim the fragments of your psyche. You realize they didn't ruin you, they revealed you. But here's the key, only if you're willing to look. Many miss the message because they're lost in the pain. They cling to the fantasy that this person was the one, when in truth, they were the catalyst, sent not to fulfill your dream, but to shatter it, so something more authentic could rise. You weren't being punished. You were being initiated. Now ask yourself, is there someone from your past who left but never really left your mind? Not because of who they were, but because of who you became in their presence. What part of you did they awaken? And have you fully integrated it? Or are you still chasing the ghost of a lesson unlearned? The truth goes even deeper. What if your most intense relationships weren't accidents but sacred assignments? We talk about soulmates, fate, divine timing, but rarely see what's beneath. Jung believed the psyche isn't just personal, it's archetypal, woven into a collective story far older than you. Your heartbreak is yours. Yes, but it's also part of a timeless myth moving through you. Nowhere is this clearer than in those bonds that feel destined, yet end in ruin. Jung spoke of archetypes, universal patterns like the lover, the wounded healer, the hero, living in the collective unconscious. When you meet someone who feels like home yet brings chaos, who electrifies you but leaves you unsteady, that's not just chemistry. It's an archetypal encounter. A collision between your known self and the hidden depths within you. These relationships aren't random. They're symbolic, rituals in disguise. When someone shakes your soul, your unconscious is speaking. Look here. This is where you've buried something sacred. And often, the very people you can't keep hold the keys to those hidden rooms inside you. But here's the paradox. The stronger the archetypal pull, the more likely the relationship collapses. Why? Because archetypes are larger than life. When you project them onto real humans, seeing them as saviors or redeemers, you place a burden no person can carry. That's why these bonds burn bright and vanish fast. They're not meant to last. They're meant to be transcended. When you cling to the fantasy, you suffer. You tell yourself, if only I'd done something differently, they'd have stayed. But the truth? They didn't come to stay. They came to transform you. Jungian psychologist Robert A. Johnson called falling in love a sacred madness, a moment when we see the divine in another. But the real work begins when the projection fades, and the god or goddess becomes human. That's when the relationship either deepens into authenticity or dissolves, having fulfilled its purpose. So ask yourself, what story were you trying to live through them? What need did they awaken? And was that need ever theirs to fulfill, or always yours to reclaim? This is the heart of Jungian growth, taking back your projections, gathering the pieces of your soul you handed to someone else. When you do, heartbreak becomes sacred. Pain becomes a portal. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what did this awaken in me? That shift changes everything, because we're not here just to find someone. We're here to find ourselves through others, and ultimately within. Still, the question lingers. Why does it feel so real, so irreplaceable, if it's not meant to last? The answer lies in your soul's curriculum. Not all love is meant to endure, but all love is meant to teach. The universe uses longing, loss, symbols, and encounters to rupture your illusions. You don't grow in comfort. You grow when the ground cracks, and you're forced to rebuild from within. These soul-shaking relationships accelerate that process, but only if you're willing to do the inner work. Jung taught that individuation. The path to wholeness requires facing the unconscious, and relationships are among its most powerful mirrors. Every trigger, every heartbreak is a message from your deeper self. The person you couldn't keep, they were a messenger, not because they were perfect, not because you failed, but because your soul needed to remember something through them. And now that they're gone, the message still echoes. Will you listen? Or will you chase the same lesson in a new face, hoping for a different ending? This is your crossroads. One path leads to repetition, the other to transformation. Why do you keep attracting the same kind of person, even when you swear you're looking for something different? Jungian psychology reveals a hard truth. You're not fully conscious of your motivations. Your ego believes it's in charge. But beneath the surface lives the unconscious, a deep well of memories, fears, wounds, and unmet needs. And it's here that your relational blueprint is formed. If love in your early years was inconsistent, conditional, or unsafe, your inner child learned. Love must be earned, chased, or feared. And unless that wound is healed, you'll unconsciously seek relationships that feel familiar, not because they make you happy, but because they feel like home. So when someone pulls you close, then pushes you away, it's likely not the universe playing games. It's your psyche replaying an old story, hoping for once for a different ending. But you can't heal the past by reenacting it. You can only heal it by facing it. These intense, confusing relationships aren't mistakes. They're mirrors. They expose your hidden beliefs about love, worth, and belonging. You might say, I knew they weren't right for me, yet you stayed. You hoped. You tried to prove your value. Why? Because your unconscious wasn't seeking a partner. It was seeking redemption, trying to finally be chosen where you once felt abandoned. That's the hidden script running beneath your attraction. And unless you bring it into awareness, you'll keep calling it fate while it quietly directs your life. But when you become conscious of your patterns, something shifts. You reclaim your power. You stop seeing the person who hurt you as a villain and start seeing them as a mirror. You stop blaming the universe and begin listening to its messages. Most importantly, you stop outsourcing your healing to others and step into the real work. Integration. This is where individuation truly begins. You move from projection to ownership, from victimhood to authorship. You realize the love you've been chasing outside is the love you've been withholding within. So how do you break the cycle? First, witness your patterns without judgment. Become the observer of your own attraction. Ask, why did I crave their attention so deeply? What emotion did they stir? Fear, longing, shame? What old story were they unknowingly repeating? Then honor the wound, not by feeding it, but by tending to it. Your inner child doesn't need another savior. They need you to see them, hold them, and say, I'm here now. This isn't easy. It takes courage, presence, the willingness to sit with discomfort. But this is how you become whole, because the people you're not meant to keep, they're your great initiators. They shake the dust off your buried truths. They pull your focus inward. They force you to meet yourself. In this light, heartbreak isn't the end of love. It's love's most transformative form. It strips away illusion, softens the ego, and invites your soul to rise. As Eckhart Tolle said, relationships aren't here to make you happy. They're here to make you conscious. This isn't about blame. It's about awakening, breaking the spell of repetition, stepping into your truth so you can love from fullness, not lack. So ask yourself, what emotional script have you been repeating? What would it look like to release it and write a new one? Who would you become if love wasn't about proving your worth, but expressing your wholeness? The person may be gone, but the parts of you they awakened are still here, and they're yours to love. This is how you reclaim your story. This is how you take your power back, by becoming the one who gives yourself the safety, presence, and compassion you once sought in them. Because love isn't something someone gives you. It's something you allow to flow through you. The relationship ended, but the love doesn't have to die. It simply needs to transform. Let it become fuel for your growth. A bridge to deeper self-knowledge. A quiet prayer whispered into your own heart. I will no longer abandon myself in the name of love. This is the final truth. The person you weren't meant to keep was never the destination. They were the door, leading you back to yourself. You didn't fail. You didn't waste your time. You didn't misread the signs. You honored a soul contract, and it fulfilled its purpose. Now that chapter is complete, and you are free. Not just from them, but from the illusion that love must look a certain way to be real. Now you get to write a new story, one where love flows from wholeness, not hunger. Where your worth isn't tied to who stays, but to who you choose to be, with or without someone beside you. Where every connection is sacred, even if it ends. This is the liberation Jung pointed to. When you bring the unconscious into the light, you stop repeating old lessons. You stop confusing fate with choice. You begin to live with clarity, depth, and presence. So what does this mean for your future? You'll still meet people. Some will stay, some won't. But you'll no longer mistake intensity for truth. You'll recognize projection when it arises and bring it home, instead of acting it out. You'll understand every soul you meet is either love realized or love remembered. You'll stop asking, was that real? And start asking, what did it reveal? And yes, you'll open your heart again. But not because you need saving. This time, because you're finally whole enough to share your soul, not to fill a void, but to amplify your light. As we close, I invite you to reflect. Who was the one you weren't meant to keep, but who changed everything? What did you learn? Not about them, but about yourself. What part of you was reborn when they walked away? If you feel called, share your story below. Your voice matters. Your healing matters. And your journey might be the lighthouse someone else needs. The universe isn't cruel, it's wise. It doesn't waste love. It uses it to shape you, wake you, and guide you home. So next time your heart breaks, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what part of me is ready to emerge? Again and again you'll see, the end was never the end. It was the beginning of becoming who you were always meant to be. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. If this resonated, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps more seekers find this space, a place for depth, wisdom, and transformation. If you're a thinker, a feeler, a seeker, you belong here. Until next time, stay awake, stay aware, and above all, stay true to your path. The universe is listening, always.